Welcome to the First, the Last, the Nerdom, the podcast where we dive into the realms of pop culture, from the freshest releases to the nostalgic classics. This week we're exploring the chilling corners of A24's latest horror film, Heretic. Known for their unique and thought-provoking approach to horror, A24 has once again delivered a spine-tingling experience that will leave you questioning reality. Join us as we break down everything from the haunting plot twist to the symbolic imagery that makes this film a standout in the genre. Is Heretic more than a terrifying story, or is it a commentary on the darker aspects of human nature and beliefs? Let's find out as we talk all things Heretic, and as always, we'll be tackling the first, the last, and everything in between when it comes to the world of horror. Now for the theme song.
Easy to Lovecraft, they dish the facts. Lightsabers clash and case on their backs. Xenomorphs lurking Gotham's dark alleys. With every episode, the fandom rallies. The first, the last, the Nerdom with Mike and Tom. Dropping nerd knowledge like an atom bomb. Discussing the cosmic, the scary, the epic. Tune in, strap in, it's all real, authentic. Galaxies far, far, horrors, chilling lore. From Krypton to Hogwarts, always explore. Panels and pages, heroes and stages, worlds colliding, they know all the phases. Wicked X-Wings and Daleks that scream, phantom zones and vampire dreams. Multiverse open and ready to storm. Mike and Tom in the lab, setting the norm.
Tom,
Always setting a norm.
yeah, Tom, let's cut right to it. Heretic isn't just another horror flick. It's A24's. They're playing chess. Hugh Grant, known for his rom-com backgrounds, he's morphing into a manipulative villain who weaponizes theology. That's a statement. But does it work, or is it just shock value draped in art house pretension?
Well, yeah, that's what we'll be looking into. It's with A24, you're never sure what you're gonna get. I think both of us were at the we went to the movies a little bit more last year, and we both
Yep.
saw the preview for this in the theater and was like, this is intriguing. And I love the trailer because it doesn't show you that much. It kind of leads you up to the kind of preamble, the what's the meat of the movie, and then you don't see the rest, which a lot of times when you see a theater or a trailer, it pretty much tells you the whole movie. I tend to not like to watch trailers, but this one's done to perfection. I think it
Mhm.
engaged you enough to make you interested and intrigued, but it doesn't show you enough to spoil all the delights that are in this movie.
Yeah, and before we get into the plugging here for the week, I just want to comment real quick on that trailer thing. We've kind of gone, we have our own opinions on trailers, and of course, the good ones don't tell you anything, but just whet your appetite for you to know what's going on. And I agree because I've seen the trailers for this before. I watched them kind of in between here and there after watching the film. I really enjoyed this one. But before we get into the main event here, I want to. Actually, I'll throw it to you, and I'll let you bring us down the road if you want, if you don't mind doing the plug-in, sir.
Yep, yep. We're the first to last, the Nerdom, and you can find us on YouTube. We broke down our name to First Last Nerdom. So if you're looking for us, that's where you want to see us. We talk all things nerddom. We talk last week we talked about DC's new Absolute series of DC Comics, and then the week before we talked about The Lost Highway. But yeah, we talk about sci-fi, fantasy, horror, and like we say, anything in between. So yeah, you'll probably find something you might like. We talked about the keep, and then I have a uh, Reddit post that where I account where I post about it. You'll find me in the relevant subreddit that we're talking about that week. I try to find something. I know a lot of like the main ones will subreddits will delete us. So I try to find
Yeah.
some little interesting little subreddits that are tiny, but we'll get but we're tiny as well. So we try to get our views from there. But also I'm on X under First Last Nerdom. So check me there. I'm usually promoting our stuff, unless Mike beats me to it, and then I'll retweet him. But yeah, and as I say, and Mike does have an X as well.
I do, yeah, I do. My X is right there at ApeIt_Ink. And I love to talk. Love to get occasionally. Tom and I have a thing to say or here or there. This is one of those weeks when we'll get into it in a little bit as a little addendum to the show, where we kind of pose a question and answer it in our own way. I think a very good, fun question, but also that absolutely fits in very nicely with this week's spiel, or the show. And also of ApeIt.Ink. That's my longer form publication. Oh, I was going to say too. I actually found two accounts that I follow or have followed over the years refollowed me. So that was cool. So balloons to me
Hey.
for that. Yeah. So I had a two-way TV app, which is a very cool kind of new style that's popping up very strongly here in 2025, and a the Task and Purpose military channel, kind of that covers current events. It's through a military veteran lens. Chris Cappy, he followed me, so that just made my week. So I'm very happy. But anyway. That all their longer form, kind of more heavy content, whatever that is. But we also will include our last two shows in the show notes. And with that being said, so do you want to cover the minutia of the addendum, or do you want to push that to the very back of the show? I'll leave you decide on that.
Oh, well, let's we could jump right in.
Right
Yeah,
on. Yeah.
Heretic. It's the basically it's about a couple of Mormon sisters in the Mormon faith going around trying to encourage people to join the faith. They're kind of proselytizing, and they go to a house of a gentleman that had expressed interest in the religion, and
Hmm. The
I think
Mormons.
they get into a discussion, and it leads to all sorts of interesting um, thought thought ideas about religion, and it's also a nice little horror thriller as well.
Yeah, it's a perfect the way that they set it up there in the excuse me, let me leave that silly me. Let me leave that set on the background there. Oh, so they can flag us for a copyright. I'm just kidding. But like this is another A24 film. It did pretty well for an A24. A24 has like their kind of hit club, and then they have like their where they put money behind it. They did that with this one. It made almost $60 million globally. I don't know what the box office total. I'll look here in a little bit as we get into it. But when you get into that good solid hit, now we talked about maybe we talked around the edges before this movie came out. I think we were aware of it being out in the theater, but we just for whatever reason we just did not end up going to see it. And I kind of regret that. But really, I mean, you have you get everybody has a big screen TV, so it's practically being at the movies anyway. But yeah, hopefully we will be able to see good quality movies like this. That like you were saying, that kind of getting back into it. You got these two missionaries. You're introduced very quickly to them when the movie starts. There's a snowstorm. They're all the typical like cliche things for a trapped in the old dark house up on the hill kind of thing, whatever. Or I don't even know if it was on a hill or not. But anyway, you get to this point, and it start boy, oh boy, I don't know about you, but they like from the time that they knocked on the door to the time that the movie, you really get into it here as we will. The tension building was really really good. I want to say, and Sophie Thatcher and Chloe East did everybody was on their A game for this. I'm really excited to tackle this one.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts off the top there for A24? And kind of does this cement in more of your likeliness of seeing that and thinking, hey, this is probably going to be something that's unique and hopefully quality.
Well, I did. I will point
Oh
out
yeah,
that I did
let
get
me pull us to
the
the big screen here.
824 4K of it, which comes with the commentary and behind the scenes featurette. I did listen to the commentary as usual when it's available to me when we're going to talk about a movie, and it's done by the writer and directors Scott Beck and Bryan Wood, and they did a nice job of kind of covering the movie without getting too much into spoilery stuff as far as what the movie means. At least they leave a lot of that up to the audience. But yeah, they said that A24, they were kind of hands off. They knew what they were going to do, and when they started screening the movie, and that average studio would have tried to start tweaking it and finding out that maybe the audience, it would have been a more of a crowd pleaser if you changed it up the ending and maybe had some crazy one liners and had an action packed ending. A24 was like, no, that's not the vision of the movie,
Right.
and they were resistant to that. So I think both of us are 24 fans in that they want to put out a piece of what they could do as far as art. Cinema should be an art form, but then also you want to try to grab in as many audience members as you can. But they find a really good balance of making sure that the artist's vision is intact, and you always know that at least even if you're not happy with the A24 movie, it's a true vision of what the artist was trying to put out
I
there.
I agree. I think they do better than any other modern studio nowadays. I'm sure there are ones that are underneath that are just a little bit lower, lower to the ground than A24 is. I'm sure they do that as well. But every A24 film I've seen, even if I didn't really like it, like I saw Baby Girl, it was all right. It got me really engaged in a couple points because I think mainly because of my age and my demographic, but it pulled me in. And that's the beautiful thing about it. I ended up not quite liking it as much at the end. That didn't mean that it wasn't good. It just meant that it was a little bit more of a one kind of a it was kind of like holding onto a cactus. Like where do you put your fingers? Wherever you put your fingers, you're gonna get you're gonna get provoked in some kind of a way to feel something about that, and that's kind of the other natural thing. I've also kind of gone to ones that were they were good, but they were more yawn than anything, and that's not a bad thing. It's just kind of how it is. But no, anyway, yeah, kind of pulling it back to center there. I just wanted to comment on A24. I'm a big fan. I know you are too. And you know that you're going to get something there, and we definitely got something there with this one. And you want to talk about a bear trap of theology. This is a bear trap of theology. I'll put that way.
Yeah, the guys, the writer directors, they said their question was because they are lifelong friends. They met when they were 11 years old, so they've had these kind of religious debates throughout their life. And they one of the things that kind of intrigued them was, can you make a religious horror movie without getting too often one direction, and not having the cheap scares that a normal horror movie would have. And I think that for the most part
Yeah.
they pulled it off. There's like a pivot in the movie. Like the first half of the movie is heavy dialogue. It almost could be done like a play. In fact, you could actually put on a play version of the movie. And then the
Absolutely.
second half kind of goes into kind of shifts gears, but it doesn't leave behind what they did in the previous. It's sort of like
Yeah.
the first part was sort of like the setup, and then the second half is sort of like the payoff. And it kind of furthers the themes of a lot of the first half is sort of like talking about
Right.
the stuff, and then the second half is like actually physically going through the stuff.
Right. I don't know what I was doing. Hopefully you can hear me all right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I sure can.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. No. This one was. It was. and you could see it coming a mile away, like setting up the tension. But they're in a way, this Hugh Grant's character kind of takes on this unique role of inquisitor, narrator, and but they also are kind of put in this foil position, like where they have to be the foil. And they
Mhm.
kind of have it's also very kind of interesting, because they're hostages. They know that it's slowly building into where you're a hostage. You're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
So that
Right.
eh, they're trying to figure out, are we just ideological pawns for him to just knock down, for his little,
Mhm.
he has a hell. He takes his time doing his presentation. He builds up on it, but that helps build that suspense and that back and forth to, like, where you
Mhm.
suspend disbelief and you go with it. And
Mhm.
there wasn't a part here where, like, I didn't go with it, no matter what.
Yeah.
It naturally draws you in with more curiosity as you get in there. Very
Mhm.
well done. Anyway.
Yeah, yeah, and like the guy said, the writer directors, they said that they weaponized Hugh Grant's charm because he's has had a lifelong film career of being the romantic type, doing the romantic movie, so he knows how to turn on the charm. That's and so he's very charming in this movie, and that's a kind of keeps you kind of there's like that tension, like you said, they both know that they're trapped and he has them trapped, but there's like this game of, oh, I don't really have you trapped, you can leave anytime, there's like this kind of play, and there's sort of like that polite sort of not saying outright what's going on, and there's like this dance between the characters,
Right.
so that they can have a civil conversation,
Right.
but there's that tension underneath that's building, that he's kind of turning up and they're kind of reacting to, which is great. There's a lot of interplay between how they look at each other. You could tell at points that his character is studying them, and adversely they're kind of sizing him up. You could tell a lot of great acting, like you said, between Hugh Grant and then the younger women, Sophie, Thatcher, and Chloe East. They're all three amazing. Hugh Grant, there's one of the things I thought about right at the beginning of this our conversation is that we don't have like the Elderman of the horror genre anymore. We don't have Vincent Price or Christopher Lee, the gentleman of horror, and Hugh Grant kind of fits right in there. He's
Boy, does he.
it's almost like he was made for this role.
Well, it just goes to well, he's a solid. He's always been a great actor, right? So, and kind of going back to his Mr. Reed character, he has this beautiful way of gas. He is gaslighting, the gaslighting of conviction. um, is what he's doing every step of the way. He's asking you to take your your top choice, and then poke around the sides to see some kind of way to question it or whatever. It's just very interesting, where he sets the table, and he sets the table whether they're having tea there in the the very 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 beginning, or as you progress through this maze, this maze of duality and whatnot. You kind of you Anyway, I don't want to get too far on down the road, but I'll pause
Yeah,
it there.
and another interesting little thing is when they hired Sophie Thatcher and Chloe East, they didn't realize that both of them were from Mormon backgrounds. They're both former Mormon in the religion, so they knew what
Yeah.
was they kind of knew what their characters would be like.
Well,
And in fact, Chloe said that she has some people that were still in the faith, and throughout the movie, she would call them and say, "Hey, how would you react to this particular thing?" So that was kind of interesting. In throughout while they were making the movie, every once in a while they would find someone that was working on it that were was Mormon or had been Mormon, and they always try to encourage them to kind of put themselves into the movie as well, kind of give their kind of influence. That's another thing. This is heavily a religious movie and talking about religion and belief and what religion means to you and what religion really is, and without being preachy. I think that's one of the great things about this movie is that it plays around with the ideas without having putting a firm foot and not preaching to you.
No, it doesn't. It's a sacrament for skeptics for sure. In from one set scene, but you kind of you have this. Not only does Reed, the narrator, the MC or the host, whatever, but he also is, lack of a better term, an anti-savior. I don't know. It's definitely a Rorschach. He tries to make it into a Rorschach test, and I believe Sister Barnes does masterfully all the way through it. Her character name there, and I'll go back to the cast list and I'll pull these wonderful actresses up here. Shame on me for not doing that. But yeah, Sophie Thatcher again, perfect balance. She is kind of the elder or their senior, excuse me, she's kind of like the senior sister that she's been here. She knows how to she's kind of looked at from Chloe as a more as an older sister to kind of help guide her in these things. And Chloe does a great job of being vulnerable and showing her fear, but still keeping it together to to continue. Just great, really, really top tier acting. That they nobody had a bad a horrible actor that you just like, come on, so they were hitting on all cylinders for both of them, and then they're totally believable. And their fear, their panic, their anxiety is palpable as the tension build. The tension is so important in this film. Without the tension, this film would not work. And in that
Yeah.
laying that on the back of horror, I would imagine it wouldn't work if it were
Yeah.
even a slight
Yeah,
degree
and
off.
yeah, they do a great job with the camera work. There's a lot of just sitting around talking at the beginning, and there's a lot of exposition scenes. Lots of and huge props to Hugh Grant for making being able to to perform those long just talking about monologues. But so also the camera work, you could have made it just kind of like those static shots, like like a Kevin Smith movie where it's kind of boring, but it does what it needs to do. But they do actually make a lot of interesting choices, like those at times the camera is like circling the characters, and it's almost a character in and of itself, and the way it moves upon, it knows when to get close up on the faces as opposed to getting further back, and it's a nice little interplay to make it engaging, because a lot of times with the cameraman, the most challenging scenes are those long dialogue scenes,
Yes,
because you've got
yes,
to make it interesting.
yes.
And
No,
they do a fantastic
well,
job of doing it, and not pulling off the same tricks every time.
Well, this is Hugh Grant Unchained, and I believe my research. I believe he studied some cult leaders and serial killers for this role, and you can tell
Yeah.
it pays off. And that the monologue where he talks, where he claims religion is just a virus of control.
Hmm.
That that part was chilling. One of
Hmm.
many parts like where you just kind of stop and you are locked in just like they are, like almost with
Hmm.
sharing that fear again. That's where a good movie pulls you in and you can't help
Hmm.
but stay there.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
he was a huge asset outside of just acting. He really helped along his character. He said that in an interview that I watched on the behind the scenes, he said that he kind of the backstory in his head for the character was he was a former professor. You kind of see that, but he kind of helped with the look. He got the glasses. He said he wanted '80s,
oh,
Dahmer type
yep,
glasses,
that
and
that makes sense.
because he figured that during the '80s that was probably his prime.
Right.
So that's kind of where he kind of locked in himself, and that kind of multicolored sweater was just kind of spoke to him. but
Mr.
uh
Rogers
but
extra
yeah,
just hits it.
yeah, absolutely. And I think very early on they were kind of blocking or doing like a rehearsal of a scene of where they're talking, and it wasn't quite working. And they the directors and writers directors were worried. Well, Hugh Grant's probably going, what kind of crap did I get myself into? And so they after a night of sleeping on it, they came in, and Hugh goes, I know you don't not really into table readings, but let's just sit down and just read it together. Me and the actresses and the writer directors, and they just kind of sat down and read it, and it worked. And then they knew from there how to broach it. But that's Hugh Grant and his experience with movie making, because the writer directors are pretty young. They just they did a Quiet Place with John Krasinski previously, but
Right.
Hugh Grant kind of knew how to fix things, so he was generous enough to lend, because some actors, they just come in and do their thing, and but yeah, Hugh Grant, you could tell, was very much invested in this movie and wanted to put in as much as he can and it could, and bring out as much as he could.
Well, he did. He did for sure. Yeah, I really enjoyed his gaslighting. Just I keep going back to that word, but it really is true how they did it. And I think when the screening came out for this movie, I believe what they did to kind of set the scene was they handed out blueberry pie cards, scratch and sniff
Yeah.
ones, to
Uh,
kind of to smell Reed's trap before it sprung. So would be one of these days. It'll be great if we could, maybe attend one of like a really cool movie or something screen. Well, we can all dream, right? So,
yeah.
it sets the trap for us, and I don't know if you want to talk about the structure or not. Like the how it was shot chronologically, or how what the thing what was it? Did they have any commentary there on the kind of the infrastructure, how the scenes were built, or the story was written, or anything like that, that you recall?
Yeah, they did. We're very much into, like you said, with shooting it chronologically, and they talked about the building of the set and making sure everything, because the whole house is a set, which
Right.
makes sense because it said that they didn't want to do a whole lot of handheld camera work. They wanted to do dolly, put the camera on a dolly so that they could do all those tracking shots where they circle around the characters, and they had enough room, so whenever you have that complete control over the set,
Right.
you could do things that you wouldn't normally would be able to do if you just were going on on location to a already pre-selected set. And then they did say that they lucked out and got to film the Topher Grace Elder Kennedy's character
Hmm.
first,
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
before they kind of dived into everything. That because that way, a lot of times they said when you start filming, usually the first day you're probably shooting something pretty heavy, whereas this is sort of a kind of a lighter scene. They said that they were kind of, there's that trope where someone else, like the Scatman Crothers character in The Shining, where he's sort of like the outside character that comes in to either save the characters or get killed. Usually one of the two. And Topher Grace is the sort of that character in this movie, and they have an interesting spin on that character. I won't do any spoilers, but yeah, he's you while you're watching it, you think he's going to do something or play a role in the movie that he
Right.
doesn't end up playing,
Right.
and
I
Topher
got
does
that
a
too.
great job for the little part that he had. Um, but yeah, it was kind of fun to see him
Well,
because I was I kept looking at him and like, who is that? And then when they did a full face on shot of him, you go, oh, the '70s guy.
yeah. Well, well, and they did it perfectly too because they you have to have somebody kind of knock on. Again, they're doing the same tropes very well that you would expect. Go
Got
ahead.
my boomer juice.
Yeah, well, you gotta crack it. You gotta crack it. Pardon me. I'm getting over the plague. Uh,
Yep.
um, but anyway, take your eat your Wheaties, kids. I was gonna say when they he came back, and then you it also gave the audience a natural pause or breather to kind of see, well, what about those bikes that they locked up?
Yeah,
Like
exactly. Yeah.
the whole again is masterful puzzle piece at a time that you're seeing put together. That you kind of go. I also wanted to kind of say, not only in the background come in handy from both those, but from Chloe and Sophie, but also the Church of Mormon itself did not like this movie, and they were very vocal about that. And they believe they said that it was the Church of LDS, so to be respectful, Latter Day Saints, I believe is what they is
Mhm.
their modern vernacular, but
Yeah.
violence against
Hmm.
women, and then posted missionary safety tips. Um, like
Hmm.
these are things that you do that go into the Streisand effect with holy water. um, but the spotlight, um, back, uh, back in the woods, like you mentioned, the Quiet Place is like a love letter to parenthood. Um, Here, they're exercising like Wood's grief over his father's death. Maybe as therapy. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, yeah. You were talking about one of the creators. Yeah,
Yeah,
the
sorry.
his
Yeah, sorry.
father
I did a
passed.
very
Yeah.
poor job. Yeah,
Yeah.
Brian Woods and
Uh,
Scott, they're both the writer and directors. And they have a very good pairing here that works
mhm.
very well. I would be very interested to see if there were any other collaborations that they did there. Yeah, sorry.
A Quiet Place. Yeah, they worked with. Well, I think John Cranston, Krasinski directed A Quiet Place, but they wrote it with him. They also, yeah, they worked on that that movie that came out a few years ago called 65. If you remember that, that was the Adam Driver dinosaur movie.
I did see that movie. Interesting,
Mhm.
interesting.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was that I will absolutely absorb a random dumb sci-fi film, and that's what I would call it. It had some highlights. That's one I might torture you with, but kind of like as like something that kind of, oh boy, it tried to work really hard. They really tried to make it work, but didn't quite hit the mark. And I do remember seeing it though, for sure.
But yeah, like I said, they've been friends since they were 11, so they have probably a really good working relationship together. But yeah, you could tell it's from the heart. They're dealing with topics that they've probably kind of struggled with and
Right,
kind of changed their opinion on
right.
throughout their life.
Very human.
There's a interesting scene where another monologue with Hugh Grant where he kind of likens the religion to the game Monopoly and
Oh yeah, yeah.
also
Hmm.
like reiterations of movie or music. They does to great effect a song by the Hollies that was then
Oh yeah.
reinterpreted by Radiohead, which was then reinterpreted again with Lana Del Rey, and then he talks about Monopoly and the reiterations of that, and it was a really it's a way of explaining religion, uh and kind of dumbing it down to the point where it makes sense. And I wasn't thinking about it, but there's a lot of copyright issues with doing a speech like that. How do you get
Mhm.
Monopoly on board? Because you actually show the Monopoly games and you do play some of the music there. But they said that that was the big challenge. And one of the things is, I think one of their producers and A24 did a great job of getting the license to be able to use Monopoly and being able to use the Holly song and the Radiohead song. It's so it's it's but that makes it that much more effective. If they had to use sort of like a no name brand board game, then it wouldn't have been quite as good. But yeah, you were talking about how the Latter-day Saints weren't happy with this movie. But I'm sure they Monopoly maybe probably picked up a couple of sales with this movie.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say, his like you were mentioning the scene where he's dissecting every religion, like like lab rats, and very joyfully too, gleefully.
uh,
Or he has very much academic zeal when it comes to that part.
mhm,
But he comes across as a gut punch. That's kind of made there to do that, to again to draw you in. And
mhm,
it just kind of goes to show that he definitely studied Jim Jones tapes and Dahmer interviews, for the role.
mhm,
Um,
mhm.
and Did you see that, like when he licked the blood off the knife? I think he said faith is just wearing a cross. Do you remember that?
Oh well,
Like that,
no.
it just adds like another creepy kind of factor there. And I might be misremembering that, but there's a method in his madness, like where you're slowly in descent with him, and his presentation isn't really. It doesn't There is no true Q&A. Like, it's kind of designed to be funneled into, it goes in one direction. It doesn't go in another
Mhm.
direction. But anyway, I'll leave it there. I'll kind of let
Yeah,
you pick it up.
and he's intrigued. He's because the girls aren't just falling over with what he's saying. They're reacting and challenging him, and I think he's probably used to the sort of docile women that come in, and he's able to dominate them. And I think that he's it really kind of enlivens the character in this movie because he's getting this interesting interplay, and it's a little bit dangerous for him as well because they're not reacting exactly how he wants them to.
Right.
He doesn't have complete control over them, and
That's kind of the coin flip
and
I think that
you
he likes to introduce. That I think that it goes to the whole Craven, adrenaline, creepy adrenaline rush, or whatever the hell joy for him. I think that's what that
yeah,
he likes to
yeah, and
introduce, just a little bit of, thing, because, well, go ahead. Sorry.
no, yeah, and I like how there's usually, if it's a man and two younger women, there's usually sort of like a sexual tension, but there's nothing like that in this movie, which
No.
was so refreshing for me, and a fresh take on it. It's without you thinking about it, about thinking, without you feeling that they're just kind of overlooking that. That's not what this movie is playing at, and that this isn't what the character is interested in. And he does have a probably has some weird kinks as well, but his enjoyment is intellectual at this point. And maybe the other stuff might come along the way, but yeah, there's a different tension there than what you normally would expect in a horror movie of this nature.
There is an arc. There is a start. There is a beginning. As strange and bizarre as it's unveiled, or revealed to you. Yeah, I kind of want to touch on that. With This was it felt very cathartic. So I think that it was that you can feel. in the story and in the touches, I think you kind of feel a closure for the directors, writers too. Definitely felt like that. Not that we're trying to in the thing or whatever, but there's just so many parts there to touch on where whether if you remember the candle smashing rant scene that she did in the film, that's just like one of
Hmm.
many that I could point to that like where it really is built on the dialogue between both of them that sets the table for the next part, and then you'll have like a bout of kind of the next link in the chain
Hmm.
for the maze or the story as it goes forward.
Hmm.
But you
Yeah.
really look forward to those kind of interactions. um and I found myself like whether it was her, finding his secret, and all the women that were his, slaves essentially, his chattel,
Hmm.
whether it was that or I never knew what she was gonna say. That's the beautiful thing
Hmm.
about like where if you play with the tropes and play with different things that make a good story,
Hmm.
it really leaves you guessing. Like I didn't really
Yep.
find that I was ahead. Not that uh, maybe some people out there that are better than me at this thing, like they try to kind of guess what happens, especially when it comes to horror films. That's like a
Hmm.
kind of a typical thing that people pot shot at or snipe at. But I don't tend to be like that. But I don't. I find that if you're in a movie like that, you're probably already halfway out of the movie anyway. Um, that never occurred with this kind of film, and it would be so easy to fall into that because they obviously paint an obvious choice on the screen before you, whether you're
Hmm.
going down this door or that door, or whether you're, a
Hmm.
witness for the new god or whatever the hell, like the,
Hmm.
the Hugh Grant, the whole madness kind of
Yeah.
thing that he essentially thinks that he is God, or some kind
Yeah.
of anointed special,
Hmm.
something or other. Even though he's very smug, but it's buried. And he I forgot. We didn't even mention the other character that's missing this whole time. Um, his wife. But somehow he has the charm to kind of play on the mores and the expected sensibilities of these women to play by their rules, but get them into his cage. I'll let you respond to that if you want to.
But yeah, he's yeah, it's like you were saying about anticipation and figuring out what's going on. He's sort of like the puppet master, the guy that's in control. He for the most part he's got this night planned out. He knew that they were coming. He's got his role to play, and he's manipulating these girls. But I think he's got a scenario for every type of reaction that they have. Although um, I think they kind of throw him some curveballs there, which he wasn't anticipating. Which I think he's kind of frightened by himself, but also he's able to pivot and react to those, and he thinks he thinks he's very smart, which there's sort of like cracks there that show you that he's not quite as smart because whenever he was kind of going over how Christianity is kind of reiteration of other religions, and he
Oh,
goes
right,
through the Egyptian religions and the Krishna. He gets some of the facts wrong,
right.
and there's sort of like those cracks there. And then when Sophie's character Barnes kind of pushes back and kind of starts poking holes in his theories and stuff. I think he was kind of taken aback during that scene, and I think he's sort of, there's that trope of the final girl, the girl that survives the situation, and usually it's the smarter one, the sassier one, the one that kind of stands out. And obviously Sophie's the obvious choice at the beginning of the movie,
Right.
but I think Chloe's character Paxton, she she's sort of like the like yeah, the wallflower at the beginning of the movie,
Hmm.
and like you were saying, she sort of looks up to Sophie,
Right.
Sophie's Barnes character, and she kind of lets that character kind of take the center stage, and she's sort of like staying in the background, but as you watch the movie, she is observing, she knows what's going on, and she's not the naive person that she
Hmm.
portrays. That's sort of like her kind of her protection,
The
the thing
mask.
that kind of
Yeah.
keeps things keeps the barrier between people with her. But as the movie progresses, she's having to survive, and her true self kind of comes out, and it's kind of throws you off a little bit, but then you go, oh, okay, this is who she is, and becomes a very interesting character that you start rooting for. And yeah, it's a very multi-layered layered character. And they were talking, the writer directors were talking about how that's sort of the way that the Chloe East is in person. You kind of assume something about her, and then she's constantly surprising you.
Right. Well, I
Like she was going to see like an art house movie while they were filming it, and they go, oh, you'll really enjoy that. And she replies back, yeah, I've seen it 4 times.
wow.
So she's seen it more than they were, because they were thinking, oh, that's cute, she's watching this pivotal classic movie. But but yeah, so there's like that sense of surprise, like you were talking about in this movie, where it sets up the tropes and then kind of spins it on its head. It's
Hmm.
obviously up to the audience to react, whether or not they did it successfully or not. But they're always at different points. They're always kind of throwing a wrench into the situation, and kind of spinning the tropes on their head. And that was one of the fun things about the movie.
Yeah, I think that and of course it had an R rating, and it wasn't for the gore. It wasn't for, sex scenes or anything like that. There was nothing related to that at
Mm,
all, which was
yeah.
refreshing in and of itself. It was for
Hmm.
the philosophical intensity, and that there's just so many things I could call out, like where he's thumbing through the Quran, and he's like, "Is your God a CEO?" There's just so many layers here that you can pick and pull
Hmm.
apart. But I do think in a maybe this is a bad way to put it, but it did kind of feel, if you recall, we covered The Witch, and we also covered Rosemary's Baby, and to me, this was like it kind of felt like The Witch meets Rosemary's Baby, a little bit. I guess for
Yeah.
that kind of that tension building, and you know what's gonna happen, but it's
Mhm.
getting there to where you discover it like everyone else. um, that tells a good story. And I just keep going back to
Mhm.
that. And it's just such a great take on, there's something to do with A24 and the cult, something to do with like either a flower cult in Midsummer, which we also covered, or it's, this, directing your face, some, it's some pejorative terms for Mormons are that they're in a cult. That's kind of like a throwaway that has been out there forever, that
Mhm.
belongs on the negative side of the column against them, in the public consciousness there. But you have two truly innocent women, who are forced and trapped into this behemoth. And they
Mhm.
really kind of are, I guess, in another way. If you zoom out you want to talk about another layer, it seems like the beast is consuming them. You know,
Mhm.
this because this whole house and property is
Yeah.
greed.
Yeah, the house is another character in and of
Right,
itself, which is
right.
very engaging. Yeah, you're kind of much like the hotel in The Shining. You're always trying to figure out the layout of
Mm,
this house, and you do get like a miniature. I like how they the Hugh Grant character Reed. He's got like a miniature kind of setup of his house, and he's kind of got everything mapped out in his head, and he's got the
right.
little miniatures of of him and the
Step
characters, and
below.
the women, and it makes him feel like he has complete control of the situations. And it's this hubris that maybe kind of is his downfall here. But yeah, the house is it's got a it plays, especially at the beginning, it plays against that, being cozy but also being creepy.
Hmm.
It
Right. Again.
it's very much reflects the character of Hugh Grant's,
Right.
Reed's character. There's that cozy but creepy factor to it, and I think it's also has a kind of like a little bit of an English charm to it, like Hugh does. The house has a little cozy English kind of feel to it.
Well,
Um,
like I was saying, they're not afraid to touch the tropes. They go back and forth all the time, and they do it again with a good film, a good story, a good writers, good directing, good acting, good scene, good world building. Even though it's kind of only one place, it's still it feels like, and there's also a little bit of a supernatural kind of sheen on it, I guess, of some kind. So when you go back after the fact and you kind of go like where they're here, they're there, they go here, they go there, and they're still a little bit of a special. I don't know that they touch on. Um, I think that they're good films that do that. Like where I can't forget the name of it. Shame on me. But we watched one where they were in a hotel and it was like horror and then everybody died, massacre kind of thing. But they touch on that so well. Like other like those kind of movies attempt to get there, but they
mhm,
don't quite reach the full. I mean, they do in their own way.
mhm.
But yeah. Anyway, I just was thinking that
Yeah, and
it's a
I
very
think.
rare
Mhm,
thing to see this, and I hope, um, Hugh Grant's had a lot of great movies, right? But
mhm.
maybe this could be his Joker moment um, for horror. I don't know. Like I would
Yeah,
love to see
yeah,
more.
like.
I would love to see more.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like I was saying, he's perfect for a gentleman of horror, Vincent Price type person, or
Right.
Christopher Lee, or the Peter Cushing, one of my favorites.
Mm.
But yeah, he's got that British gentlemanly charm to it. So yeah, definitely, I would love to see him in something in the future. And actually, one of the things they talked about was they wanted Cameron Crowe, the writer, director, famous writer director, who's done Jerry Maguire and countless other movies, great movies. One of my favorites is Slacker, that he did early on, but they wanted him to do a small cameo role in the movie, and just reaching out to one of their idols. They wanted maybe the grace of having him in it, and or, the. And he replied back, and he said, "Oh no, you don't want me acting in." He said, "I've tried acting before, and you really don't want me messing up your movie with your acting, with my acting." And he goes, "And I love Hugh Grant, and I want him in a future movie of mine, and I wouldn't want to trash your movie, and and not be able to get him in a future movie with me." But he said, "From above my heart, I reach out to you guys, and I want you to do very well with this movie." And they were very, very touched by that. Because the guy could have just not never responded, or been kind of crass, but yeah, you could tell that he has that sense of camaraderie about filmmaking, and reaching out to the younger people, uh making their mark on movies, and it's impressive that he would encourage that, and you know even though he was saying no, he did it in a very nice and uplifting way.
Yeah. No, no, I gotta say this is one. I think this is gonna be a future, easy, great movie to put on. That I think was like a few steps above the Stephen King one that we did, not too long ago. And shame on me for not having
Mhm.
that handy, but that was a really satisfying movie. This movie is even more satisfying. Like where that
Yeah.
one kind of had things that kind of popped out, maybe that didn't quite
Yeah.
nail it down, that was still good. Um, this
Mhm.
one is the definition of great, of what a horror film. maybe you're the type and you just don't want to get involved with, like, you think horror and you think like I used to think, oh, it's an 80s slasher, no, 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 no. Like much like your first giallo, this would be like a great first horror film for somebody who is typically not into horror films, because I think
Yeah.
it preserves the horror element perfectly, um, but it also leaves room for it to be a thriller a little bit, a little bit of the religious side or whatever. That's got to be some kind of interesting
Mhm.
to somebody,
Yeah.
whether you believe or not. It's a natural. Oh, interesting. I wonder how they're going to do this. And that's kind of I think what the trailers invite you in. They set the scene and they say, "Come see me." Now, unfortunately for us, we did not end up in the theater to see this one, so that's our loss. But this
Yeah.
is a win. Even still, this would be a very easy, great horror film to put on for somebody who maybe typically is into the genre, I would say. Also, I just wanted to kind of make that commentary on the
Yeah.
side.
Yeah, yeah. And in fact, say if you're having a dinner and with a friend, and you start getting into maybe a religious debate, you go, "Oh, wait, I got a movie for you," and then
Absolutely. Break the tension, yeah.
put that on later that evening or a different day, and for them to check out. Yeah, it doesn't insult people,
No.
their intelligence or who they are. A lot of times when another trope of movies with religious people, they're usually they're a lot of times they're taken with a bit of derision or but I can understand why the Latter Day Saints didn't like the movie, but they did never make the religion never they didn't ever speak out against it. The characters do say things that are not very kind to it, but the core people that were
Right.
Mormons in this movie never lost their faith, so to speak. That was challenged by this evil man, but the core faith, and that's another thing, another reoccurring theme in this movie of challenging your expectations. Is there God? What's religion? And then they play along
What is
with that
existential
blueberry, the
dread?
blueberry pie is like,
Right.
th- that's the blueberry pie. Is blueberry pie God? That is my favorite pie. So the
Is it
blueberry pie
really?
is my favorite pie.
That's
So
funny.
maybe it
That's
is
funny.
God tier to me. But yeah, there's that thought of, is there that blueberry pie, that mythical pie, and it does make a presence in the movie. It does come out, and that was what probably one of the bigger shocks to me in the movie. It's like, oh, there's the blueberry pie,
Yeah. No,
finally.
no, it was good. It was good all along the way. I don't think that there was really one bad or weak moment, like where it fell apart, or rain, is water in these things. It takes on an element of its. I'm not gonna imprint, or I'm not gonna put out whatever I think it was or wasn't, whatever. But um, this thing stuck together, and it was so compelling. And please just show me the movie scenes. I don't want to see I don't want
The runway.
to. Yeah.
Yeah, another cool thing in this movie is Hugh Grant's. He has those big monologues that he kind of goes through, and there's he did a lot of ad libbing as well. They said there's that when he was talking about the Monopoly game, and he's opening up, and he goes, "Everybody has a favorite piece that they play," and he goes, "I won't tell you mine," and then he
Yeah.
goes, "Meow." They said that he added that meow.
Right. Well, that just goes to show what a great actor he is, and what great actresses, Chloe and Sophie were, and to
Yep.
the director and writers and directors. Again, um, I maintain that I think some of the best directors of all time. This would be a fun show. Maybe when we're a little bit more senior than we are today, like what the combination of being able to know how to write and know how to direct, and being talented in multi different genres or multimodal, ways of communicating. Um, this is right on display before you, and it sucks you it sucks you in. I don't have any bad thoughts or things to say other than go see it. Um, I think it did 30 million here domestically, almost 30 million something. It did well enough for A24 to keep doing its thing. So I'm grateful for that. How much did it cost to make? We didn't really
I
touch
wouldn't
on that.
think much. I didn't check that out, but yeah,
I
it's
didn't either. Yeah.
very not very many
Well, obviously it made
locations.
money, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Uh, I will say, I won't tell you how the movie ends, but it does a nice balance of allowing you to interpret it, the the questions that it poses at the beginning of the movie and throughout the movie kind of plays into the ending of it as well, and it gives you enough kind of ambiguity there,
Mhm.
in questions to allow you to interpret it the way, either the way you would initially have interpreted at the beginning of the movie, or how the movie kind of makes you think throughout the movie. There's still that kind of play against, what you really think is going on, and that may be influenced by your religious knowledge, or lack thereof, or there's they also play along with the idea of, the world being a simulation, and there's
Oh
that
yeah.
interpretation that can be
Yep.
played,
Yep.
at the end as well. They do a pretty good job of doing that. Although, it may have worked, like they said, with a more definitive ending, it might have
Right.
worked a little bit better. But I think this ending may hold up a little bit better with time, because it gives you that, like I said, the ambiguity of, what exactly did happen.
No, absolutely. Well, again, it kind of leaves it there. It leaves it out there, and we're not even there. You should stay put for the very ending credits. There is a scene that whets the appetite that goes perfectly with this movie. I won't say what it is, and I too will not um, say what the ending. I respect Tom. This is one that you want to go see and find for yourself. You bring in all you have with you, and it probes the depths, whether it's philosophically or religiously, whatever. It does it all very very well. And I couldn't imagine it being to the point to like where it was. It never came across as preachy. It never came across as
Yeah.
like so dry or boring, kind of like those spots you hit with like really long lectures or something. But if ever
Mhm.
there was like a parody surreal world where A24 did more marketing and they let Hugh Grant do a read TED Talks religious thing, kind of like maybe a variation on that thing. Boy, this begs for it. I would watch that for sure. That would be a riveting
Yeah,
10, 15 minutes.
yeah, yeah. If they did like an ARG where his Reed character, if they but like a year, or a few months before the movie came out, had him start a YouTube channel where he was doing like
Oh
little
yeah.
lectures or something, that would have been that would have
Oh
been
my God.
interesting. Although they would have had paid him for that. I'm sure that would cost a little penny, but
Yeah.
that would have been fun. Yeah, that would have been an interesting thing. Another cool thing at the end, they showed the title of the movie, but it's blurred, and
Hmm.
you start to see that it's maybe coming into focus, but it never does. And
Hmm.
I think that's a kind of a fun play on this whole movie. Is like, there's that ambiguity of the
Right.
whole movie, and
Right.
the fact that it doesn't ever become clear, is kind of a fun little play. Also, there's that thing with the music about the reiterations,
Right.
and so they play the Hollies, and then later on they play Radiohead, and then you would think, because they mentioned, Lana Del Rey's song was a reiteration, that would have been the closing song, which in the commentary they did say they had thought about it, but it ends up being, the character, the actress Sophie, Thatcher. She's singing, "Knocking on Heaven's Door,"
Right.
and but it's kind of played to the tune of, "As the Stars Fade Into You," which is another kind of reiteration. So it's kind of a fun reiteration. And then if you remember from the beginning of the movie, when they're talking about singing, Sophie Thatcher's character said, "I don't like the sound of my voice singing," and the other character is like, "Oh, I like it," but yeah, so it's kind of a fun twist that she's singing at the end of the movie.
That's funny. That's funny. No, it's great. It's a great Last Supper, so to speak, a cinematic communion. You're gonna want to be there with it, um,
Yep.
and
And
you're gonna hopefully won't smell burnt crust and copper.
yeah, and then you're showing the blueberry pie candle, which A24 sells. Um, I kind of turned you on to the A24's membership program,
You did.
and then you I got you hooked, and then you my master Hugh Grant's plan, you gifted me. No, you gifted me a membership, which I did end up using my gift card for getting Heretic. Which was I think a great find and value there. Thank you for allowing me to get it pretty cheap.
Oh, absolutely. No, I love it. I don't find everything on their website to be something I want to buy, but I try to go every month, about middle of the month, about payday or so. I try to go find a few something if something is out there that I kind of want. And the cool thing about all their merch, you're kind of doing a little plug here for the AAA 24 membership. $100 a month,
Mhm.
or excuse me, $100 a year. I had a Joe Biden moment there. Sorry, apologize. Oh, no. Anyway. Okay. Dumb joke. Uh, I don't find but every item they have, they'll make it. There's a limited number, and then it's gone. They don't do like I like that because it kind of keeps the whatever cool little trinket or thing that you like. And it's
Mhm.
so random across their thing. There's something bound to find, and if I can find it, I will try to do that every. I'm a big fan anyway. I'm already there, but no, it was. I
Mhm.
love that. I love that's a gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah, I did.
Whether it's you or
Yeah, I
me
missed
or
out.
whatever, it's just
I
nice.
mi-
It's just nice.
yeah, I missed out. They had a bear in a cage that was from Midsummer that I missed out on. That I really wish I could have got.
Yeah, I got the
But
patch
yeah.
and I got the movie with the whole lithographs or whatever they are. Very
Mhm.
cool. It's such a great. I still haven't watched it yet. I'm kind of saving that for a special moment. I guess I should do it here
Mhm.
soon, but I might do it on
Yeah.
March 15th because I like the Ides of March. But yeah, I think we're
Oh,
coming up.
and
Oh, go ahead, go ahead.
also, one last thing. I was going to talk about the 4K again.
Yeah,
The
please.
4K and Blu-ray. They do have they are actually they sell it on their website. And like I said, I got the discount having the membership, which is a great value, especially if you like a lot of the A24 stuff. But if you're kind of scared to go on the web, whatever, you can actually pick this up at Walmart. Walmart is starting to stock these, and also uh, they have um, they have them at Barnes and Nobles. They're selling them as well at Barnes and Nobles. It's a really nice packaging. It's kind of a cardboard kind of setup, and yeah, you got the all the little pictures on the outside. But the cool thing is, it comes with uh, little postcards. But yeah, it's kind of probably doing them upside down here. But yeah. But yeah, they're like I said, so they all kind of have like little cool things on them, and they have, like I said, there's commentary on there with the writers and directors. Really enjoyable thing. Um, but yeah, overall, great movie. Definitely a recommend. And yeah, like I said, I do enjoy the blueberry pie. They got the candle there. Um, I'm not a candle guy, but if I was, I'd be tempted by that blueberry pie.
Apologize there. I had to go check on something real quick. While we're taping this, the Super Bowl's going on in the background. I got to make sure that everything's okay with the family. And anyway, yeah, no,
Oh, you mean the big game?
yeah,
We don't want to get copyright strike.
yeah, that big game. Yeah. So thank you so much for covering down for me while I went. went and took care of little life stuff. But no, so I think we're toward the end of the show, like where we can probably break
Mhm.
into the little tidbits and whatnot that we were going to
Yeah,
discuss.
I forgot to ask you, what is the political message of this movie?
I think that I will share a cool Frank Zappa quote that I think fits this perfectly. Where he basically, and I will poorly relay this, but basically, um, he had this very famous. He's very much known as a contrarian when he was alive. Anyway, I think to me he had a little thing that he said, "Hey, if you like look at what the media is saying, what the culture is, what the music is, what this is, and you kind of like look at it, um, that was packaged and made to be consumed by you." And I kind of got that vibe from it. Like that very strong countercultural critique on all of it, I guess. I don't know, but to me it kind of just showed that I walked away from it with it. I don't think so. I don't think it was political at all. Not really.
Yeah,
It was more deeper than that, I guess. Politics is
yeah.
very much situational. Is it contemporary? Are we talking about 100 years ago? There's so many kind of things, but no, I don't. I don't. I've never seen any political movie, maybe one or two, but the thing I would say about horror, in my opinion, is that if they do the political thing, that's not the sole thing that you're looking at. That's just like a natural ally to whatever the storyline is.
That's
And
sort of like the
again,
start off point. Yeah.
exactly, like right, or the commentary there, kind of like it could be absolutely be a layer of it, but it's more deeper than
Mhm,
that. Like whether it's an
mhm,
allegory or not, whatever. That's the beautiful thing
mhm,
about a good movie anyway, whether it's horror or not.
mhm,
It draws you in.
mhm,
And what do you think about now? What do you think, Tom? Is horror
mhm,
political?
mhm. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. There's been this sort of a Twitter X debate about is or political, and I think it was started by uh Damien Leon. He
Right.
posted something about how his Terrifier movies aren't
Oh,
political,
right,
and
right.
obviously some people are in his that work on the movies have made sort of political statements, but and they're more than welcome to do that, and it makes that's fully within their right, but it's not what this these movies are about. And I think there's a lot of yeah, talking heads on in the internet where that have been kind of trying to portray horror movies as always being political. One of the one of
Right.
the YouTube guys that I follow on physical media, he's one of the forefront guys on there that's saying, "Oh yes, it is political," and he was had this big long article about how Terrifier 3 is political.
Hmm.
However, I haven't seen Terrifier 3 yet. I'm not going to read any of that crap because I don't want it
No.
spoiled for me. I'm getting a very nice box set of the Terrifier movies
Oh,
coming in
nice.
from Umbrella, which I just notification that it's shipped, so I'm very excited about getting it. But I don't want anything spoiled for that movie because I've been saving it to watch on the 4K that's coming in. But yeah, I think Damien's been getting kind of some heat on yeah, that's the box set. But yeah, I think Damien's been getting kind of some heat um on him unjustly so about it's it's a it's a evil clown. I mean, how political can that be, you know?
Right, right. Well,
I've seen the first two movies and the anthology movie that he did previously. They're like extreme slasher horror movies. I can understand people that don't like gore and those type of movies not
sure.
liking them, but I think his take on it is basically the movies are for everybody.
Right.
Uh, and I think when you try to pull politics into things, it divides people. So, I never worried or thought about, what political party Freddy Krueger was on, what Michael Myers was truly saying about the Democrats.
Right, 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 right,
You know?
right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's yeah. What is the deeper political meaning of Killer Clowns from Outer Space?
right.
I think you could make a good case on whether or not Art the Clown in Terrifier is actually a clown or is he a mime?
Mm.
There's that debate that you could have. Very very much so. What was your take on all of this?
Yeah, no, I just thought it was another silly. I love the question. Well, let me back up. That's why kind of like I wanted to talk about it a little bit. Like I love the question that was posed. Or is this genre political, or are all XYZ, whatever? That's a great question to have to put to the sword, because there is rhetoric, um, and I love to see rhetoric here or there. It's just a more of a nerd thing for me, but. When all the rhetoric in the world, it means nothing when you actually watch a movie. An experience. It is not the same thing. Different movies for different reasons, but at the end of the day, it's there to capture your attention. It is a
Mhm,
completely different method of communication if you want to get, really,
mhm,
abstract with it. And I don't think it's not.
mhm.
And the other thing too is it's not that difficult. It's just a movie, man. You like it,
Yeah,
you don't
yeah, and I
like it,
think
or
you.
maybe it didn't ring the bell or whatever.
Right.
But no, I mean, the truly political move again. They're not there to tell you to do this or that. It's not. We don't live in a black and white world. We just don't.
Yep.
That's the beauty of the grayness of all genres.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, like the movie we just talked about, there's that
Absolutely.
ambiguity there. You could take take and put in what you want into the
Right.
movie. And I think you posed the question to me on X, and I said, that's that horror movies aren't really political. I think they're more social commentaries.
Right.
I think the political movies that you posted out to me that they were trying to say were political were movies like Night of the Living Dead, uh, Get Out. Those are more social commentaries.
Mm-hmm.
It's very
Mm-hmm.
much George A. Romero was very much kind of a social commentarian
Right.
with his movies. Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead was a commentary on the mall society and
Mm-hmm.
sort of like that zombie mentality of following along with whatever is was the masses were thinking at the time. Much more kind of a social kind of play with it. I think when you get political, I think you're talking about policies, you're talking about political rhetoric. I think you start tying things down and kind of locking it into a time which kind of ages your movie almost immediately.
Mm-hmm.
If you're talking about a topic at that time, that's why we can't I can't think of any. I'm sure there is sort of horror movies that kind of lock themselves into sort of a policy or a political movement at the time, but those kind of go away. They kind of disappear because we move past that. We age past those. But if you can kind of build the into a more of a broader, more social kind of thing, then it kind of lives on and kind of morphs itself to whatever thing that's going on at the time. I think
Right.
it's not the thing isn't political, the movie isn't political, but it can be used for political uses. A perfect example is Invasion of the Body Snatchers,
Right.
which was heavily influenced of the McCarthyism at the time, of these people being taken over by this singular thought or feeling. But they kind of play it with an alien invasion.
Right.
They kind of obscure it to not be locked down into a certain thing, and that's the fun of sci-fi and horror is that they could take the emotions or the thoughts of the time, but kind of kind of obscure them and make them sort of a kind of a universal kind of question,
Right.
and which lives on because these these issues or thoughts and things keep reoccurring. History, we don't learn from it, so we're doomed to repeat all these things that have gone on before. So of course these movies kind of rebirth and have a new life. And I think one of the things also is, with every decade, horror is kind of influenced by culture, and obviously culture includes politics. So there is that element within, if you look at the horror movies of the 80s and the 90s, you could see these themes that are kind of reflections of what's going on at the time. And obviously, again, politics is one of those elements. But the horror movie isn't that politic, that political movement. It's sort of, sometimes it's a reaction, or kind of a, like I said, it's just kind of playing upon those themes. But the thing about art is, if it's smart and kind of universal, they kind of obscure it, and gives it more of an elevation than just leaving it as a political thing.
No, I agree with you completely. Like you mentioned here in your great. What's the message from Killer Clowns in Outer Space that's political? what what
Exactly.
what
Yeah,
exactly
I
is
get
is going on there, with the thing? But
right.
um, you know,
Yeah, when you say all horror movies are political, you're
right,
you're shooting yourself in the foot.
right.
Because
Well,
some movies are just what they are.
right. Well, you have the thing in Alien. That's more about paranoia and survival than a specific political issue or whatever,
Hmm.
or societal whatever.
Hmm.
And you had movies that came out in the time that they were in. The Thing
Hmm.
came out during the Cold War. Where there was a kind of a fear, a looser fear of infiltration and distrust. And
Hmm.
like going with Alien, that's a critique of corporate greed. Whalen Utani, that's
Hmm.
always been kind of the set piece of every other Aliens movie or whatever
Hmm.
franchise has been that corporate greed. That can fit in just about any era. Well, 100 years
Hmm.
from now, you can watch it, and somebody, I don't have no idea what we're going to be talking or what language we're speaking or new language or dialect or
Hmm.
new ways that we're talking, but corporate greed is that, again, great movies touch on those things and they pull them out,
Hmm.
and they
Yeah.
make them evergreen, for lack of a better term.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
whereas
Right,
politics,
right.
it's like aged milk right off the bat. I don't, I can't think of it. That's why I love Civil War so much, because it directly, and I love this when they directly court you to pull you in, and it's not there. And then if you try to layer on top of your own, whatever, thing that you are passionate about in the political civics
Hmm.
arena, on top of that, it doesn't work. It doesn't work when you try to plug in this team and that. It falls apart right
Hmm.
away. And if
Yeah.
you don't like it, you don't like it. But yeah, no, I love that question. I thought it was it bared us talking about in more exploration.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely. And there's the very interesting times that we're living in right now, and I think whether whatever side you're on, you have very strong feelings, but and that's going to encourage you to, the creative person is going to take that into their zeitgeist, and that is going to have an influence.
they're gonna turn it and buck you.
To what degree and how far will be interesting. I think those that are able and are intelligent and are artful enough to kind of draw like the universal, the things that really kind of tantalize your brain, uh and like I said, obscure it to make it universal, and
Right.
create a really cool piece of art and horror. And then there's others that aren't as creative and will make the political message that they're trying to get across very blatant. And unfortunately, those type of things turn out to be what I call like after school specials.
Oh, right.
The message go into art, trying to give your
Right.
message. A lot of times that message overwhelms the art, and it becomes propaganda,
Right.
and no one likes propaganda
No.
or like I said, after school special where
Being
it kind of
told what to think
the
too.
message
Yeah.
overwhelms what the story is trying to tell you.
Right.
And a true artist pulls out what needs to be said, but obscures it in a way that can be taken universally. And it's like I said, a great um, piece of art can make you feel and think about things
Hmm.
without pushing you in one direction or the other.
Well,
It poses the question, and then you get to play with it and take it however you want.
Well, and it also what time you're at in your life, in your journey. If you're in a period of sadness or whatnot, listen to a happy song could make you cry for. I mean, we're all human. I mean, it's kind of a silly example, but anyway, it's just a fascinating thing to kind of dwell on a little bit, I'm so glad we
Yeah.
we did. And that's what good art does is it invites you in, and I don't know how like it's just those things. And I always well, I have said for a while a little bit more distilled in today's version, but you kind of have to assume that 95 to 99% of the thing that's made in any given year is just garbage. Like it might be okay to like watch or whatever, but it's not truly great. And sometimes the really great pieces of art, whether they be literature or film or comic book or whatever they are, sometimes it can take a little bit of time in order for us to all see that and recognize that as we go on. And that's where kind of the nostalgia kicks in after a certain beat. But nostalgia can be poison too, but that's a whole other conversation. But anyway, I thought that was a really fun thing.
Yep. Yeah,
Did you
and
have
it's
any?
interesting that we kind of ran the spectrum of horror. We talked about Heretic, which is sort of a kind of a cerebral, sort of thinking man's
Right.
horror, and then we've ended it with Terrifier 3, which, like I said, I'm getting the box set. I'm very excited about getting
Absolutely.
that from Umbrella, another boutique physical media place. But yeah, that's which I may terrify you with watching on the show.
I have no doubt. I have no
But
doubt. Now, well, you'll terrify me and my wallet. So thank you, Tom.
yes.
Willfully, I should say. Yeah. What a great, what, no, what a better, no better way to end the show or to end this thing that we've been doing. To invite you in again. We are the First Last the Nerdom on YouTube. As always, you can catch me on X. Give us a conversation. Tell us what you think about this week's show and your thoughts on political and whether it's this genre or another horror that is. Or you can also meet Tom over on Reddit.
Mhm. And also on X, I'm first last nerdum. But yeah, engage us in the conversation. We've got you. We've given you a lot of things to think about. We talked about religion. We talked about politics.
Yep,
We talked about uh, so yeah, hopefully our comment section down below will explode in conversation.
indeed.
If not, that's cool as well. But give us a like, give us a thumbs up, and subscribe to us. We would love to get back to 420. Dude, so 420. But yeah, yeah. If you like us, yeah, we appreciate you guys out there. We picked up a couple of subscribers
Thank you.
over the past couple of weeks, and yeah, hopefully we're doing what you enjoy. If you have any thoughts on what you prefer us to talk about, we'll probably end up we'll cover what we like, but yeah, we would love to hear from you guys. What brought you to us? Was it the comics? Was it the horror? Was it the sci-fi? Was it everything? Just let us know.
Indeed.
Um, but yeah, we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah. I've been ML.
And I'm Tom, and we cover the first, the last, and everything in between.
Indeed. See you next week.
Mhm.